Hey guys, welcome back to Ash Sharp Books. Today I'm gonna do a historical romance recommendations video. So I did my contemporary romance recommendation videos, so if you're interested in those, definitely check out those on the channel. But I have been kind of putting off doing historical romance just because I felt like I hadn't read enough of it to kind of give like a good opinion on it. But I feel like I'm gonna go ahead and talk about some of my favorites and kind of recommendations as of now. And then I'm sure in a year or, a couple of months when I've read even more, I can just come back and do a second part to it. So I didn't actually start reading historical, like traditional historical romances until about like a year ago, like a year and a half ago. I don't know, I think I was kind of scared of them for a long time. The covers are kind of cringeworthy at times. Anything in that mass market variety, for whatever reason, just kind of put me off for a long time. But I finally tried it, like I said, about a year and a half ago, and I have loved it. It's definitely become one of my favorite genres, if not my favorite, and it's just a perfect fit for me, to be honest, because I absolutely love history. I'm a history nerd. I love the History Channel, watch it all the time, and I love romance. You guys know that's my favorite genre, so the two together it makes perfect sense. And it's like reading a period drama to me, with like in my brain that's what's happening. And my favorite thing to watch are period dramas or miniseries or Jane Austen movies. So I don't know, if you like that kind of thing too, I hope that you find something that you like in these suggestions. I'm definitely not a specialist or a expert on the subject matter of historical romances. I'm also hoping that if you guys have any suggestions for me, definitely leave them down below, because I'm just getting into the genre, but I figure if there's anyone out there like me who just didn't really know where to start, I thought maybe this would be a good place to kind of come and get a little bit of advice. So it should come as absolutely no surprise that my first author is Lisa Kleypas. You guys know I absolutely adore her. She's my favorite because I think it's just because she's also the first one I read that really sucked me in. I had read a few other historicals before, but nothing really sucked me in like Lisa Kleypas' books. She just has the perfect blend of characters that are witty, and the banter's perfect, and the setting is just, like I said, like you're reading a period drama in book form, which is what you're doing. So for her, I would suggest starting with the Wallflower series. I think when you have an author like Lisa, or a couple of the other ones here, they've been writing for a long time and they have a lot of books. So it can be a little daunting to know where to start, at least for myself. And I think that's why I was a little put off at first, just because I didn't know what to do. But I would suggest starting with the Wallflower series. It's my favorite, I think, series of hers. And the first one is, I actually don't own the first one in physical copy, but it's Secrets of a Summer Night. And I just think it's a great book. It's a great quartet. It's about friends, and I just think you can't go wrong with that. The other series that I'm going to suggest from her is the Hathaway series. So this one follows a big family. This is the first one, Mine Till Midnight. I'm pretty sure I gave this either 4 or 5 stars. The whole Hathaway series is fantastic. I recently finished it. And if this sounds more like, read both of the descriptions, and if the Hathaway sounds something like more up your street than the Wallflowers, maybe go with this series, but they're both great, and I don't think you can really go wrong with either one. The next one is Julia Quinn, and as you guys know, if you've been watching, I am working my way through the Bridgerton series, and I've read the first 5 books now, and I'm excited to finish it off. I think there's 4 left. This one, I will say I haven't read any of Julia Quinn's other works other than the Bridgertons, because she does have standalone novels and I think like a spin-off of the Bridgertons, but I feel rather confident after reading 5 of them that they're fantastic. And if you read the first 1 or 2 and you like them, I think you're gonna like her writing. To me, Julia Quinn's books are just like the perfect amount of like fluffy, but like deep at the same time. I know that makes no sense, but they're really lighthearted, but the characters are still going through very hard times and they're having to make hard choices. So to me, and both Lisa Kleypas and Julia Quinn paint a very picturesque London. It's perfect. It's what you'd imagine with all the good parts of Victorian society. But the characters are still very flawed and they still have real problems. So if you kind of want that type of thing where the drama isn't really the setting, but the drama is more the characters, definitely go for Julia Quinn. One of my favorites from that series is The Viscount Who Loved Me. This is the second book in the Bridgerton series. I did like the first one as well. My mom has it right now, so I don't have it. But her books are really funny. So I'd say, I think more than almost anyone else on here, if you're looking for something lighthearted with a lot of heart but also really hilarious, check out her books. So the next one is Tessa Dare. So Tessa Dare is, I feel like, one of the more popular authors for historical romance, because I know a lot of people who don't read historical romance still have heard of her or read a couple of her books. And I've actually only read 2, but I've loved both of them, and I am just like chomping at the bit to get my hands on the rest of her stuff. But the one I would probably suggest would be the Duchess deal, because it's fantastic and it's her most recent release, so it's going to be a little easier to get your hands on. It's just so good. I think what Tessa Dare does really well is give really unique heroines with really unique personalities, because in the reality of the situation, not all ladies, even if they are in the aristocracy or are very wealthy, are going to have the same personality. They're all going to have some kind of trait or personality quirk or something that makes them different. So, I mean, in one of her books, the main character is a scientist, or she is interested in science. And then, you know, in another, like in this one, she works for a living. Like, it's just really unique. They're not the same cookie cutter people that you read about in some other books. So this is the first one that I think this actually is the first one I read from her. I have also read 2 of her other books, but I think this one was my favorite. So I really just, if you want something very 21st century, but in a historical setting, check out Tessa Dare. My next suggestion is going to be a little bit more, I guess you'd say, like an old school historical romance author. I found her books kind of by coincidence. I think I just was looking up authors that were known for historical romance, and hers, I've mostly only read her kind of Scottish or Irish, I think they're all Scottish, historical romances. I think she has ones that are more set in England, but I haven't read any of them. So that is Lindsay Sands, and this one is my personal favorite, which is An English Bride in Scotland. I've read, I think, 3 or 4 of her books now, and it's been a little mixed. I will admit that I've read, like, most of them I've really loved. There was 1 or 2 that just weren't my favorite. They weren't bad. They just weren't my favorite. I thought they were a little dated, I guess you could say, just with the way that the characters were developed and things like that. But this one I really, really enjoyed. So I guess I'd say take the chance, you know, pick up 1 or 2 of her books and try them, because I think this one's fantastic, and I know a lot of people really love her. This was just like, you know, your perfect like Scottish romance. I don't really know what else to say, but I felt like she just did it really well. And she did it in a way where, yeah, he was like the alpha hero, but he wasn't like an alpha douchebag, if you know what I mean. Like, he still made some questionable choices, but not in a way that hurt anyone, I guess you could say, you know, emotionally or for physically or anything like that. So I definitely really liked her for her Scottish romances, and I know she has a slew of other books, so eventually I guess I'll get to those as well. The last author I want to kind of recommend is Eloisa James. So I have read a few of her books now, and they're all, I haven't read any 2 in one series yet. I've kind of been like bopping around, but they've all been really great. I read one of her books from her kind of fairy tale series, and that was really good. And then I think my favorite though has been My American Duchess. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was so good, very different. The characters just kind of pop off the page. So this one, as well as Wild in Love, were both fantastic. So I believe these are 2 of her more recent releases. I know this one was the one that just came out a few months ago. So I definitely would suggest checking her books out as well. She's got, again, a huge backlist, so you're not going to run out anytime soon. But she, again, her characters are really unique, really different. She has swoon-worthy romances. The heroes are just so good, and I just feel like each of her stories have been really unique. This one, to the fairy tale one, were very different books, and I think sometimes you can get a little caught up in kind of like the procedure that each book takes, and I'm okay with that for the most part, but it can at times get a little bit kind of predictable, and I feel like her books really, really do a good job of making themselves stick out in my mind as different. You know, this one follows a character who kind of went on travels and came back, and there's like these girls following him everywhere, and it's kind of like almost like Beatlemania, but like for a man, just one guy. It's just really different, and I really enjoy her books. Okay, I do have 2 honorable mentions because I only have read a few, like 1 or 2 of their books, so I didn't have like confidence to say I would like all of them. But one of them is Sarah MacLean. So I loved this one. I just haven't had a chance to pick up anything else by her yet. But this was very, I believe this whole series is kind of supposed to be like TMZ meets like Victorian England. So if you can get that in your mind, it's very just different. Like, I feel like I keep gravitating towards authors that write beautiful historical romances but also have something different about them, kind of quirky. So I loved this one, The Rogue Not Taken, which is the first book in the Scandal and Scoundrel series. I will be picking up the rest. I just haven't had a chance yet, but definitely worth mentioning. And the last one is Maya Banks. So Maya Banks writes contemporary romance, which I haven't actually read, but she also writes, the ones I've read are her Scottish historicals. And In Bed with a Highlander was one of my favorite books last year. I really, really loved that one. I don't have it with me. It's on my Kindle, but I haven't read enough of her stuff to say I loved them because I think I've only read 2 of her books. But that one in particular was a favorite, and I adored it. So I definitely want to try some more of her stuff. Okay, guys, so those are kind of my starting off recommendations for historical romance. Like I said, I'm definitely not an expert or anything, but these are kind of where I started with historicals, and they're some of the ones that I've really loved, and I've loved enough to keep reading books by these authors. So I hope this helps if you're interested in the genre, or if you're not, you don't have to be. But let me know what some of your favorite authors are, especially if I didn't mention them on the list, because I am always looking for more recommendations to add to my list. But tell me your favorite book by that author, or kind of where to start with them. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.